Hello everyone and welcome back to Dusty Tunes. It's Destiny here. So before we get into this video, I just want to say really quickly that I know before I mentioned that my videos were going to be coming out on a schedule on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I decided to totally scrap that schedule. I will be posting multiple times a week, but I don't know what days I will be posting because things are constantly changing around here. Things happen and I end up feeling really guilty when I'm not able to upload on the days that I'm supposed to. So there will be multiple videos a week. I just don't know what days they'll be coming out exactly. So make sure you have notifications on so if you want to catch those videos when they come out. And yeah, with all that being said, let's get into the video. Growing Up as Told by Ginger was one of my favorite animated series, so much so I even named one of my hamsters Ginger in Ginger Fowley's honor, and it was for good reason. As Told by Ginger is one of those series I feel confident in saying was ahead of its time. This was a series that wasn't afraid to tackle serious and controversial topics ranging from depression to the feelings that come with parental abandonment. There was something special about this series, and that was the realistic way that situations would play out and the characters' reactions to these situations. I will go as far as to say that during the time of its airing, As Told by Ginger had to be one of the most relatable animated series targeted towards preteens, even years after its last episode aired. There are so many things to take away from this series. There are so many things that I could talk about in regards to this series, but today I decided to talk about the episode titled A Lesson in Tightropes. I wanted to get into this episode specifically because I feel like it is one of the most layered episodes of As Told by Ginger, and it also is an episode that dived into topics that you never or hardly see an animated series get into, which already sparked my interest. The way that I'm going to present this video is by dividing the episode up into 3 separate parts. As I mentioned before, this episode is very layered, and I feel like there were 3 main components that I took away from the viewing experience, so they will all be getting their own individual segments. So without further ado, let's talk a little more about A Lesson in Tightropes. Now, this episode begins with Darren and Ginger's relationship ending, and I remember the first time I watched this episode, I thought that this was going to be a situation where we spent the episode navigating through Ginger's feelings with this new change, but I would find out that the ending of this relationship would only be part of the struggle that this character and those around her will be facing throughout the duration of this episode. I wanted to highlight the relationship ending specifically because of the way that the breakup is handled, especially when you're dealing with 2 characters that were extremely close before the relationship, throughout the relationship, and how it will affect them as individuals, having to let go of not only the romantic aspect of the relationship, but also the platonic connection as well. The fact that the series actually dedicated the time to build the relationship between Ginger and Darren before dating in the first place was admirable. This is something that we don't see a lot in animated series. Sometimes it starts off as a crush and then our characters are just suddenly dating. So it was really cool that they spent the time to build this relationship. I also think it was equally as cool that they actually showcased the ending of the relationship with people who were best friends. There doesn't always have to be animosity between 2 people in order for a relationship to come to an end, and I feel like it was important that they showed this, especially considering the targeted audience. Everyone should have some sort of understanding that relationships can also end outside of anger. Darren and Ginger's relationship comes to an end because Darren feels as if they are growing into 2 different individuals. Throughout life, growth is inevitable, and sometimes with that growth you will find that the things that you like and dislike will also change with time. With Darren leaning more into sports and Ginger into music, they start to find that they are spending more time in their respective interests rather than their relationship. And I know that more times than not, we like to side with the main character, but in instances like this, I completely understood and sympathized with Darren not feeling as if their relationship was a priority anymore. When it gets to the point where you feel that your relationship isn't getting the attention that it deserves, it most definitely is something that should be addressed, and if it doesn't change over time, the healthiest thing to do is probably end the relationship. This way of ending their relationship was done in such a realistic and mature sort of way that it's actually really impressive to see it done in an animated series targeted towards preteens. One thing that I do have to mention though is the way that Darren moved on literally the same day that he broke up with Ginger. This was an interesting move by the writers of the show because it made Darren seem to be very inconsiderate of Ginger's feelings, and I feel like we all know that Darren isn't that sort of character, so definitely an interesting choice. I'm not exactly sure why they did it that way, but okay. I'm not exactly sure if it could have been a move done to add drama to the situation or what, but it just felt very distasteful to have him shack up with another girl, not only causing Ginger her first heartbreak, but also bringing his new girlfriend to the hospital while his ex is fighting for her life. Just feels a little ridiculous and honestly really silly. The episode then takes us with Ginger and her friends as we go into more depth about how she's feeling with this new change. And as someone who also ended a 10-year relationship with their best friend, I completely understood how heartbreaking and confusing this situation was. It's really hard going from being best friends to romantically involved into not understanding where you stand platonically after being in that sort of relationship. It's very difficult. It's very confusing. But while describing how she's feeling, Ginger mentions her stomach feeling as if it's going to explode, and little does she know this feeling goes beyond an emotional level, because during this time her appendix had actually ruptured, and this is when the layering starts to happen, because the episode that I thought was going to be about navigating your first heartbreak ended up being that, mixed with Ginger facing an unexpected life-threatening situation when her appendix not only ruptures, but she also ends up hemorrhaging in the process. This would be the first and only time that I would ever see appendicitis mentioned in an animated series or in any form of media targeted towards a younger audience, which is crazy because there's actually a pretty decent percentage of people that experience their appendix rupturing as a young person. It also wasn't very common in animated series that we would see our female main character in such a vulnerable position like Heartbreak, mixed with literally looking drained of life laying in a hospital bed at the same time. The thing is, Ginger isn't the only person going through it emotionally throughout this episode though. Lois, Ginger's mom, is seen being very emotional as well because of this ordeal. Riddled with fear and guilt, we see a character who is usually presented in a very strong and unbothered way, now being visibly shaken up. It was actually really interesting that they included the perspective of a parent going through their child's first major health complication, because again, this is something that we don't see very often, and I have to say that the montage of Lois and Ginger throughout the different stages of her life was definitely a tearjerker. The first time I watched this episode, I cried because I thought that Ginger was gonna die. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but they kind of presented it that way, didn't they? Okay. No parent wants to come home to find their child in the middle of a medical emergency, and as Lois tortures herself with the what ifs, I understood the guilt that comes with feeling like you could have done more, but I am glad that Dr. Dave was there to comfort her and remind her to give herself a little grace, because she was there, and because of that, Ginger is now getting the help that she needs. Getting to see the different perspectives from the people in Ginger's life was also really cool in my opinion. Characters like her best friends actually seemed the least concerned for Ginger's situation. Then there was her brother Carl, who was seen leaving the hospital's place of worship, where he's confronted by his mother, who mentions she thought that he was atheist, in confusion to seeing him leave a place of praise. I found this part really funny because as an atheist myself, I do too find myself praying in certain situations because it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Darren arrives at the hospital with his new girlfriend, and honestly this part was so unnecessary to me. And I don't mean Darren showing up for his longtime friend, I mean him bringing his new girlfriend along. It just felt like a slap in the face to Ginger, who was already going through so much. But Darren's emotions slipping out negatively towards his new girlfriend felt so authentic to me personally. Like, it's impossible for a person to just erase everything that they felt for someone that they spent so much time around. And I loved that the show didn't just write this off as Darren being completely over Ginger, but kept it realistic in the aspect that this situation was just as hard for him as it was for her. They even kind of show us the way that he's navigating through these emotions after ending the relationship. Now, although I do wish that they both could have had a little bit more closure when it came to ending such a meaningful relationship, I still understand why the relationship itself had to come to an end. Now, I have to talk about Ginger's perspective to this whole situation because she couldn't really care less about the medical procedure she just went through or how worried everyone is for her well-being. Instead, her main focus is Darren and whether or not he came to visit her or left anything for her to see when she woke up from her surgery. Ginger does mention that she should be grateful and happy that she's alive, but she can't help but to feel concerned about where the situation left off with her and Darren. And honestly, as someone who was a teenage girl at one point, I feel like this is the most realistic approach to something like this. Like, I couldn't really imagine caring too much about my appendix rupturing when my long-term boyfriend decided to cut it off with me and then start dating someone right after. Lastly, I want to talk about Dr. Dave and Jonas. Hello Stranger is probably one of the most talked about episodes of As Told by Ginger on the internet, alongside And She Was Gone, and that's for good reason. Hello Stranger dives into the very complicated relationship between Ginger and her father Jonas, who walked out on the family shortly after Ginger's brother Carl was born. He is what you would call a deadbeat father, as he is known for either being completely no contact with his children or bailing on them after making them promises. Ginger, just like me as a child, is the kind of person who would much rather defend the behaviors of her father instead of accepting the reality of the situation, while Carl, on the other hand, openly displays his frustrations towards his father and how much he prefers Dave over him. Jonas making an appearance in this episode was honestly shocking to me, considering his track record and what we know of him from previous episodes. Again, I'm not exactly sure if this was a move made to add additional drama to an already dramatic situation, or if it was used as a way to confirm that there were no possible realities where Lois and Jonas would ever become romantically involved again, giving closure not only to a very paranoid Dave, but also to Carl, who was already getting really used to the stability that came with having Dave around. To me, it felt like this episode was about the beginning and the ending of things. We bared witness to the ending of the relationship between Darren and Ginger, but we were also comforted with the idea that Lois and Dave solidifying their marriage would be a new beginning for the family, one without broken promises and instead reliability. This episode also displayed the bumps of life, and that good and bad things are always happening simultaneously. While some of our characters received closure, we have others like Ginger that are left grasping for whatever crumbs they can to help them understand how life moves forward after experiencing a day like this. As Told by Ginger is one of those series that does a great job of not presenting the world through rose-colored glasses, and isn't afraid to end their episodes on a note that isn't particularly a happy one. We, the viewers, are left just as confused as Ginger is about what the future holds with Darren, and honestly, I feel like this was the best way to go about it. Sometimes things end and we don't always get the explanation we feel we deserve. We get what we get and that's it. But this is where I'm going to end this video, so let me know down in the comments. Do you agree with Darren's reasoning behind the breakup? Or do you sympathize more with Ginger? Do you feel like it was wrong that Darren already moved on? Or do you think it doesn't matter once you've broken up with someone? These are all things that I questioned when I watched this episode for the first time, but now I am completely Team Darren when it comes to the relationship, but I am not Team Darren when it comes to the fact that he not only started dating someone as soon as the relationship ended, but brought her to the hospital. So unclassy. But if you liked this video, let me know that you did by liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so that you know what days I'm posting, because the schedule, it's completely out of the window. But I will see you guys when I see you. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye.